Zombie Takeout. Strange thing about Zombie Takeout is it doesn't tell you anything. It shows you everything about life for nothing, but the true mysteries remain. Perhaps it's in the nature of Zombie Takeout. Just waves in space.
What's up? Welcome to episode 268 of Zombie Takeout.
Zombie Takeout.
The B-Movie Cult Movie Podcast. I'm Uncle John.
And I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's movie, we've got some listeners submitted. This is from John Phillips in reference to our review of Lemmy a couple weeks ago. Well, yeah, a couple weeks ago, because, yeah. Well, this is going to be a little awkward, because last week was a week off for us, but not a week off for you, so it gets a little weird. Anyway, he said, spoke too soon hoping that no one else would die. I'm thinking John probably commented as the episode was going, as he often does.
Well, yeah, which is pretty cool, live commenting on it.
As I was editing, I cringed every time you said that, because I edited on Friday night.
I could feel you cringing like every time I was saying it while we were doing it.
Well, not so much, because I joined in a couple times, but...
You know, if you had just put it out earlier, though, we'd still have Rickman with us. Miss the decree. Mm-hmm.
He also said, I think the drummer's name is pronounced Mickey, like the mouse. He's Swedish. Mickey D from Motorhead. I went with Mikey because it's two Ks. Obviously, Swedish is pronounced different, but also because I didn't want it, in case I was wrong, I didn't want it to sound like Mickey D's.
Yeah, didn't he pass too?
Who, the drummer?
Like, one of the members of Motorhead passed.
Other than Lemmy?
Between the documentary and Lemmy, if I'm not mistaken.
I was unaware of that. I'll have to check into it. I'm pretty sure the guitarist, I'm blanking on his name, is still with us, because I think he was the one who commented after Lemmy passed away that, they were definitely splitting up because Lemmy was Motorhead.
Yeah.
And finally, on Lemmy, he said, if you haven't recorded yet, may I suggest Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, in reference to our tribute to Alan Rickman next week. Yeah.
Everything is an obituary now, damn it.
We're still debating on Abe Vigoda. We were debating on that as of like 2 minutes ago before I started recording. With regard to Prince of Thieves, I'd rather not go into a tribute episode with a movie I know I'm going to hate.
But if you need a reason to watch that Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, Rickman is definitely the reason to watch.
Yeah, and Morgan Freeman, he had some good scenes. But,
he was all right. Of course, it was a bit confounding, like, what's he doing here?
Yeah. You just have to skip over all the Costner. Unfortunately, he's playing Robin Hood, and, that's like 95% of the movie.
Great Caesar's Ghost. That's a terrible accent. That is like the textbook worst accent. That was worse than my half-assed Bowie in the intro.
And I really like Men in Tights, so I can't hate the movie that much because Men in Tights was a reaction to it.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not gonna use a movie I hate for a tribute episode. The Rickman tribute has been decided. Of course, I'll be announcing it at the end of the episode.
Did we do a tribute episode for someone that we wound up hating the movie for, and I can't remember who it was now?
We may have, but it was unintentional. What is it?
It was someone last year, and I can't remember who.
If we did, it was unintentional. We probably didn't go in knowing we were going to hate the movie.
It might have been, no, it wasn't Invasion of the Body Snatchers, was it?
Was that a tribute?
It was Nimoy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we didn't like that very much. Yeah, you really hated it. But neither of us knew we were going to dislike that movie going in.
Right.
I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this week's movie.
Same here.
Until I watched it.
This was a roll of the dice.
Yeah. We'll see how that turned out.
That's what we do here, though. We gamble.
Yeah. Right. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves would not be a gamble.
No.
The Rickman...
I would be looking up Kevin Costner's whereabouts to see where I can find him by the end of that fucker.
Actually, the Rickman tribute we have planned is a bit of a gamble for me because I wasn't crazy about it the first time I saw it.
It is one of my favorite
Yeah, a
movies.
lot of people love it, so
Yeah,
I want to revisit it. And
I won't give it away.
and just closing out listener submitted in reference to our discussion, was it a review?
I don't know. It was a very informal review, even
We
for
rated.
us.
We
It was
did
supposed to
sequels and
be.
remakes.
It was supposed to be a throwaway end of the night.
Yeah.
We're just going to talk about this for a bit because it's a thing we both saw. And
that was
have
meant to be like 5-10 minutes in the outro section, and I think we had hung up on Skype before I looked at the time limit at the times, and the Lemmy episode in and of itself was like an hour, and then the Force Awakens discussion was like nearly 40 minutes. Even edited, it would have been an hour and a half episode altogether.
Yeah.
And you were under the weather last week, so it was convenient that we got a week off.
Yeah, I was ready to like keep pushing on. Like, I don't know, because this movie is a long ass movie that we're doing this week.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like last week, just like, how am I going to do all this? And then you came and was like, let's not do it this week. I was like, you know what? That sounds fantastic, because I was like 9 days in a row of cold medicine.
So yeah, like I said, that's going to be a little awkward for us because Lemmy was technically 2 weeks ago for us, but it was the last movie we reviewed. We didn't really review Star Wars.
We gave it brains.
Yeah, I mean, I'm technically calling it a review. Anyway, on to what John said about it.
Yes.
You're not wrong with most of your critiques, Scotto, but calling out originality with a Star Wars film?
Well, let me... There was nothing new effects-wise, really,
Okay, yeah, fair enough. However...
Star Wars, it's never been about, a great acting performance until this one.
Right.
I mean, we've had some, and I wouldn't call these great. They were good. They weren't,
they were very, I'll say very good.
I would say, for a Star Wars movie, they're fucking great, of course.
Well, but I mean, Oscar Isaac's, maybe Adam Driver, I'll say very good.
I mean, I said it in the review last week that this was the best acted Star Wars film of the whole series. However, effects-wise, it's probably the most underwhelming of all of the entire series, which is very odd considering the advancement in technology we've had since 1977.
I think, and I'm reasonably sure I've read Abrams saying this, it was a deliberate choice to go back to practical effects because the prequels were so CG laden.
And all well and good, the practical effects, but they didn't really break any new ground. I mean, the planets were all just recycled planets that we've already seen before. I think the big new frontier in effects for this one was supposed to have been the ship battle within the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't really done that in past movies, but it's been done elsewhere. It's not like seeing the first space battle in New Hope. Like, what the fuck?
I do have to give it this to you. They didn't break any ground effects wise. In fact, to me, the most interesting thing effects wise is that Simon Pegg was actually in the suit playing her boss.
And there were some.
It wasn't just a voiceover. He was in there.
But but I mean, even the prequels, as bad as people were on them, there were still some things in there that you came out like going, "Wow!"
Effects wise, yeah, there were some interesting moments.
Effects wise, were fucking amazing still.
And I'm gonna say, I think you almost just said as bad as they were. I think you almost conceded. Anyway, on to this week's movie.
Yes.
Which is from 1976, The Man Who Fell to Earth. This is our David Bowie tribute. Of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by World Enterprises. If you can sell it, we own it.
And also brought to you by Blanks. The fun fact about Blanks. All right, so we have a peopleoid, as Bowie would say. He's coming from another planet. It took me a while to figure out what the fuck was going on with his other planet. But they lack water.
It's Dune.
Right, pretty much. Pretty much, it's Dune. And the irony is they see our planet, which we've named after land and ground, but it's more covered by water.
Yeah.
So in their language, for our planet, they call it, the water place, pretty much. He comes to our planet with a mission to bring back. This isn't obvious for the first hour and a half of the film, by the way. Yeah. Just taking this,
nothing is obvious for the first hour and a half of the film.
Honestly, even after seeing the movie all the way to completion,
nothing is obvious
about it. I have to go back and watch this again to figure out what the fuck really happened here.
But I kind of love that about it.
Yeah, but yes, it's his mission to come to our planet to somehow bring water back, which I really did not get.
No,
I thought he was, he somehow got lost here.
I read
trying to find a way to get home.
I read the beginning of the plot summary on Wikipedia. I didn't read the whole thing this time. I just read the first lines that said, alien comes to Earth in search of water because his planet is undergoing a drought.
So yeah, the ship that they're building isn't to get him home, it's to carry water through.
And to get him home.
And of course, I'm sure scientists would say, if they could do all this shit, how come they can't just generate fucking water there on the planet?
Oh, yeah.
But maybe not, who knows? So
it's 70s sci-fi, it's not something you nitpick.
I guess not.
Can you think of a 70s science fiction movie that's worth nitpicking? Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
They didn't really think about science.
He's on our planet, and he becomes I wouldn't say a media mogul, but he becomes a mogul.
Kind of a mogul of everything.
You're right. He has a lot of alien technology that I mean, it's kind of neat that he puts patents on. Yeah. Like he somehow understood our law.
Almost immediately after he lands, he finds a patent lawyer and makes a deal with him.
Makes a deal with him, right? And then starts his corporation selling all of these alien pieces of technology. And it felt like he was about to go home, and everything was going to be a very happy ending or hunky dory. I know enough with the Bowie references.
No, that was well played.
Thank you. But then there's some evil corporation with glittery gold helmets that bring it all down in hilarity.
And it ensues. And that's when it officially lost me.
It is very...
I was good up until the last half hour.
It was very bizarre.
But going back to the beginning, that first scene we see, basically stock footage from NASA from the moon launch, and the rockets bursting off and whatnot, and it really felt like Space Oddity should have been playing.
Well, I mean the scene where it looked like he was about to leave Earth with the cheering fans looked like it was a reenactment of the Space Oddity song. With a cameo by Mr. Jim Lovell, Apollo 13 astronaut himself. And
the thing that really struck me about this, and this is going to sound like a really granular thing to say, but it has a very early 80s TV feel.
Oh.
It kind of feels like Powers of Matthew Starr, Misfits of Science, The Phoenix. It feels like that era of science fiction television.
It's a lot more subtle than that, though. They were very
it's not in terms of the story, but in terms of the general look of it. It kind of feels like that.
I thought the effects in those shows were very over the top, too.
Yeah.
Whereas this was a lot more subtle effect-wise, except when they got to the eyes.
Beyond the Black Rainbow had to have ripped this off. Or been heavily influenced by this.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that.
He practically removes his appliances.
Right. I didn't think of that. That is what Beyond the Black Rainbow did.
Yeah. Speaking of his appliances, he found the human disguise pretty quickly. Because he crashes, and then next thing you know, he's fully dressed in with the wig on, and he looks completely human, and he's walking away.
He probably brought it with him.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too at first, but then I thought he was stranded here. I thought he fell to Earth.
Mm. Well, he did. He crashed.
Right. The implication is that he's marooned here, and not on a mission.
Yeah. And you really don't get the sense that Bowie is playing the alien that crashed until he drinks straight from the river. I mean, I knew he was the alien, but if you didn't know that going in, it looks like he's just someone checking out the crash site.
True, but I felt like Bowie was playing Bowie in this.
Well, yeah, actually, I have a quote about that, or a bit of trivia.
Who is the alien?
Bowie, who was heavily abusing cocaine at the time of production, admitted later that he was in a fragile state of mind when filming was underway, going so far as to state in '83 that, "I'm so pleased that I made that film, but I don't really know what was being made at all." And he basically said, yeah, I wasn't really acting. I was just being me at the time.
And that's what makes the film so goddamn compelling.
Yeah.
Because he's not acting. Mm-hmm. Everything he's doing is real in most scenes.
We've seen Bowie act many times, and he's pretty good, but yeah, he's not like he is in this.
Right. I mean,
he's always a little over the top.
I've always found him usually a little stiff, like was it Yellowbeard that we saw of it?
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking even his better stuff like Last Temptation, or even the little I've seen of The Labyrinth. Well, The Labyrinth was obviously way over the top. But he's always a little excessive in most of his acting, and except in this, he's incredibly natural, and it's because he's not acting.
Yeah, right. When he's freaking out, he's most likely really freaking out.
Yeah. In fact, there was a scene where it looked like he almost cracked when she's, shall we say, rubbing him.
Yes.
He gets this look on his face like he's either panicking or about to laugh his head off. And I swear he cracked for a second before he moved away from her.
I mean, the blood coming out of his nose, I mean, was that an effect or was that real?
Yeah, good point. Oh, and also got to shout out one of the best cast members who was horribly underused, Buck Henry.
Oh, yeah. I was very surprised to see Buck Henry in this. Like, what?
Relatively small role, brilliantly played, because Buck Henry. His glasses freaked me the hell out, though. He has these, what I'm guessing were bifocals, sort of, except the magnifying part was most of the middle.
Yes, terrifying.
So his eyes look 5 times as big as they actually are. And what the hell came out of his mouth after he was offered the percentage of the profits in that initial meeting with Bowie's character? Because he opens his mouth and it looks like there's like a capsule on his tongue, and then the capsule flies away.
Huh. I'm not sure.
Because I was kind of getting the impression he was almost like taken over by Bowie. Like he was kind of a Renfield, sort of.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think he was... I mean, I think Bowie made him an offer he couldn't refuse is what it came down to.
Probably, yeah. But there was that odd scene with the thing flying out of his mouth that almost kind of made me feel like maybe he was enthralled a bit. I'm going to be referring to characters by the actors, because I don't remember any of the characters' names. But Bowie assimilated very quickly. There wasn't a lot of like learning to be human.
Because they'd been...
he'd been studying us, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. He'd been listening to our radio.
Now, one criticism, the music did seem a bit overbearing. I mean, beyond just being a character in the film, it really was jarring and almost upstaging at times.
It was the main effect.
Yeah, well said.
It was, I mean, they only had so much effects in this, so many effects in this movie. But the music really was the crutch that they leaned on for it. Yeah,
exactly.
And surprisingly, no Bowie.
Oh, actually, he was approached But contractual wrangles during production caused him to withdraw from that aspect of the project. I'm guessing there was an issue with the record company.
I think that was a wise choice.
Yeah, because it would have been too much of a vehicle if he'd done the music.
Right. That often gets a little silly when you've got the actor and then their music-esque, Phil Collins.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the crutch that they leaned on, also, the movie was a bit more hardcore than I was expecting.
I was gonna get to this. There are two versions of this film.
Uh-huh.
There is an American version.
Uh-huh.
That the theatrical American version, and there is a more unrated, unedited version.
I suspect that's the version I watched because, let's just say she really took Rip Torn in hand.
Yeah, that was that was surprising.
Yeah, to say the least.
Because outside of a porn, that usually does not happen in a regular film.
Yeah.
There's one thing to have the full frontal male nudity. There's the thing when it gets when you get a grip on it.
Yeah,
shall
exactly.
We say.
Yes.
And I don't know. It seemed like that may not have been in the script. The way Rip kind of reacted, and she was kind of goofing around a little.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a hell of an outtake.
Yeah, I'm sure. It seems like there was a lot of improvising in this.
Yeah. One of the titles I suggested was Time Lapse the Movie, because a lot of time passes in this movie.
And you know what's really weird? They never even tell you how much time has passed. You just see people getting old, the humans getting older.
Well, in the last half hour, there's a significant time jump. But Candy Clark's character, the girlfriend, goes from being the hotel maid to living with him. And there's no indication that more than a week has passed.
Right.
Seemed a bit odd.
Right. I guess it was a point of the plot summary that I did leave out was that he goes to this hotel. I'm not sure why he goes. I guess aliens just love going to New Mexico for some reason.
Yeah.
And despite being able to space travel, he has aversion to elevators. Because the G-force in an elevator compared to...
And it was an old style elevator where you manually controlled it. And the ride she was given, anybody would have passed out. She was back and forth between floors because she didn't really know what she was doing.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I have driven some of those old-timey elevators, and they are scary as fuck. So.
I can imagine.
Yes.
Although, I should be pointed out that even though time passes very quickly, this is a long, bloody movie. Now, back in episode 250, I inadvertently signed us up for, 2.5 hours a movie. You did it this time. Because you were the one who suggested The Man Who Fell to Earth, and I don't think either of us expected it to be 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh, definitely not, no.
I was figuring an hour and a half. I looked at the time today, and I almost didn't finish it before the show.
It took me about 3 sittings to get all the time in. Just with my schedule and everything.
Yeah. Now, they periodically show his family on, I think it's Athenia, the name of the planet. It's not mentioned in the movie. In the book, I think it's Athenia.
Yeah, I really want to read this book, by the way.
Same here.
Holy fuck, it's from 1963, they said.
His family are wearing what look like they must have been influenced by still suits. Because it's these sort of bodysuits with these hoods and pipes going around them with water in them and these backpacks on. Again, Dune way older than this, so I'm sure they borrowed the idea from still suits.
Definitely. Even isn't the book slightly or around the time Dune came out?
I thought Dune was older than that, but I'm not sure actually. I thought Dune was 50s, the novel. But I have to check into it.
I think he started it in the 50s and then finished it sometime in the 60s. I don't remember the exact years myself.
But the movie is definitely post Dune, the book.
Of course.
So there probably was some influence there. And In addition to periodically seeing rather surreal shots of his family, there are some other rather odd things in the movie. At one point, he and a girlfriend are driving in a limo past this field, and Bowie sees this, like, frontier family.
I love to see. Well, no, better yet, the frontier family
Sees them.
sees them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a bit of an interdimensional thing going on with whatever he's working on.
What the fuck?
So yes, they're all standing around like watching this limo drive by, going, "What?"
Hmm. And there's no attempt to explain it.
No.
This movie almost kind of feels like Shane Carruth way before Shane Carruth.
You know what? I was thinking of Carruth during this movie too. Like, wow.
I had mentioned in a comment on Facebook to Jen that it's rare that I can go into a movie, even if I don't know anything about it going in, and not predict the plot. This is one of those rare cases where I couldn't predict the plot at all. And Shane is probably one of the few others who gives me that. Like, I can't see where his plots are going at all.
Not to spoil the sequels and remakes thing, but if when we're to remake this,
oh please,
Shane would be the guy that I would love to see do it.
Oh yeah,
it would just be the whole what?
Uh-huh. Now, there's a scene where he has kind of a flashback of his crash, and it kind of feels like he doesn't remember it. Like, he's shocked by what he's remembering.
Do you think he was awake during the travel, or?
That's a good possibility. Maybe he was unconscious he was in stasis of some sort.
Right.
And he was rudely awakened by getting thrown out of the capsule into the water.
But there's so little explained, so...
Yeah.
We're really just spitballing ideas, because they give you for a movie that's like almost 2.5 hours long. Yeah. They give you so little. Like, even the ending is really just implied.
Yeah.
If we want to,
the ending is weird.
Spoil. Oh yeah, the ending is weird as hell.
Like, the actual ending, it just kind of freezes, and it's kind of a police squad freeze.
Well, right. It's not a real freeze. It's that he's holding the pose.
And things are moving in the backgroround.
Yes.
I mean, I would be willing to bet this is where Police Squad got it from.
I think that was a common thing back
maybe
in that time period, the mid to late 70s.
Incidentally, this is the only David Bowie film that Bowie would go out of his way to promote, according to the Bowie Golden Years website. For good reason. I think it's probably his best film. Of what I've seen, anyway. Also, in 2011, Ebert gave the re-release 3 stars, stating that the reader should consider it a quiet protest vote against the way projects this ambitious are no longer possible in the mainstream movie industry. Which, again, was proven by Shane, because he tried to go mainstream with a topiary. Now, I loved her reaction, the girlfriend's reaction, when she sees him as an alien. It was very realistic. She completely goes catatonic.
I haven't made up my mind whether I liked her or not,
Her performance is kind of spotty.
She's a flake. Did she need to be a flake? Or does that just give her more to work with for being a flake?
She was kind of the standard clingy girlfriend, which seemed a little unnecessary.
Kind of funny when you're talking about an alien, though.
Yeah, true. Very true. I think maybe that was the point, is because she had suspected all along, and then she finally sees him as he actually is, and completely goes catatonic. Didn't need to see her pee. She actually urinates in the scene.
She also knew he had a wife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She also knew he was married.
Now, according to Michael Dealey, one of the producers, when Barry Diller of Paramount saw the finished film, he refused to pay for it, claiming that it was different from the film the studio wanted. British Lion sued Paramount and received a small settlement. The film obtained a small release in the US through Cinema 5 in exchange for $850,000, and due to foreign sales, the film's budget was just recouped.
Oh, nice.
So it just broke even. Okay, now we're getting to the confusing bit.
Yes.
So he built the ship. you think he's just going to use it to go home, but he's also going to use it to, of course, steal water. He's about to take off, or he's being walked to the ship. It's that typical scene with a crowd around, and you get the idea. And then he's ushered to his limo, and tells his driver, "We've got some time. Take me home," which seemed odd to begin with.
Right.
Driver stops for gas. Bowie starts freaking out
because for some reason the driver is ignoring him.
Yeah, he's not going the way he's supposed to be going, I suppose. And then we see the guys in the sparkly helmets, who we haven't seen before. Suddenly they kill Buck Henry and his boyfriend. They were a couple, right? That was
yes.
Sad. I'm not just making that up. Okay,
it was more than just implied. It was.
Yeah. So they kill the two of them. Bowie is taken to this facility that really reminded me of the room that Dave ends up in 2001. It kind of had a similar look to it, with the big bed and the French, furniture, and
just very 70s aesthetic. The game room with the woods on the on the walls
and a big dartboard.
Yeah,
and then there's another big time jump. Well, there's a weird scene before the big time jump, because we see Bernie Casey's character dive into a swimming pool naked with his wife.
How many interracial scenes like that have there been before this point?
That's
I've been trying to look that up, honestly.
Probably quite groundbreaking in that sense.
I have not seen that. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen anything suggesting.
But we have two pointless scenes of the two of them, in a pool, and then putting their kids to bed. And then there's a time jump, and, a couple of scenes with Bowie locked away.
And we never really see him again after that.
Well, there's another scene. There's one more scene where he's fat and gray. And that's how we know time has moved on. Because Bowie doesn't age.
Oh, right. Oh, that's right. That was him fat and gray.
Yeah, giving an interview to somebody. Who sold him out?
It seems like a lot of people did. It seems like Rip Torn did.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that. He seemed to have the most to gain and have the biggest vendetta.
Because he was doing like the experiment, like he was part of
right. Yeah, he was trying to find out. He was the one who initially found out that Bowie was an alien, and he got the girlfriend at the end. So that makes sense that he was the one who sold him out. It's never really explicitly stated.
Why would you think he has a vendetta against him, though?
I just kind of got the feeling that he had an ulterior motive all along, and Bowie was kind of in the way of his research.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm overplaying the vendetta part.
I mean, he was untrustworthy to begin with.
Right.
I mean, he set up the X-ray, to try to figure out who Bowie was. Before
they ever met, Bowie sort of astral projects to him and says, "I'll talk to you tomorrow," while he's in bed with the girlfriend. Which I think is what initially tipped him off that something was, rotten in Denmark.
Yeah.
But this is really the part of the movie that kind of lost me. Because it gets really... the movie itself is convoluted, but it gets particularly convoluted at this point because we see, the Rip Torn and the girlfriend together, and they're talking about how much she still misses him and she visits him. Incidentally, the difference between movie-aged Rip Torn and the actual aged Rip Torn is kind of amusing. Because now he's about the age he was at the end of the movie, and we know he looks nothing like that.
Hey, is it just me, or did Tom Green have him play the same character in Freddy Got Fingered pretty much?
Pretty much. Well, Rip Torn always plays that character, doesn't he?
I guess so.
Although I did like the time reference. He's escaping and you hear all of these clocks.
Oh, yeah.
And Darkside was used as temp music.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So it was probably something they kept from Darkside. Or at least it wasn't exactly the clocks at the beginning of time, but it was obviously...
It was very close, yeah.
Oh, by the way, Candy Clark, who played the girlfriend, also played Jerome Newton, Bowie's character, with a large black hat strategically pulled low over her face because Bowie was ill and wasn't able to shoot one day.
Do you think that was her at the very end credits?
That could have been. I mean, we know that was Bowie for most of the scene, but after he pulled the hat, she might have been the one who sat there holding it.
I don't know. That was so weird. She just jumped in to play him.
Well, because, okay, he escapes from the facility.
Yeah.
And some time has passed, and Rip Torn's character goes to find him because he found this record that he'd made, like a music album that Newton had made. And so he finds him, and they have a brief conversation basically about, how is Mary Lou, that's her name.
He becomes a rock star.
Yeah. And
he becomes David Bowie.
Effectively.
Yes.
And so they're having this conversation. They establish, everything's, everything is forgiven, basically. And then Bowie drops a class, and they say he's had too much, and he kind of, the waiter and Torn agree that he's had too much. And he kind of utters this weird little, and then pulls the hat down and does the police squad freeze during the credits.
So I think what was implied there was that he's going to help Bowie get off the planet finally.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
That he's had enough. He's, kudos. I mean, how many decades has it been that he was on the planet for?
Mm.
And really, who knows if his family is still alive?
Right. Well, I think they showed that they're not. At least it looks like the kids were dead. Because they do flash back to his actual family on Athenia. And the kids looked pretty dead.
Yeah.
And the wife. They were waiting at... There's this weird little tram on the planet. And they were waiting there for him. Now, this movie, all in all, it's kind of in the same spirit as a lot of Bowie's music for me.
Yes.
It's very artistic, but also kind of weird and disturbing. Because, getting on to Bowie himself, because it's a tribute episode, we got to talk about him. I discovered Bowie at probably the worst possible time in his career. The first song I ever heard was Modern Love.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with people our age. When we, for our first introduction to Bowie, he's kind of a joke.
It's Modern Love, Let's Dance, and then Live Aid, the thing with Mick Jagger, Dancing in the Streets.
Oh my God, yeah, that was terrible. It just kept getting worse and worse.
Mm-hmm. And his later 80s stuff with Frampton wasn't much better. He didn't really get interesting again. Frampton, I think maybe it was just a tour with Frampton, but I think he also played on one of his albums. Never Let Me Go, I think was the name of it.
Huh.
I think it was mid-80s, like 86. It was shortly after Let's Dance. It was still in his... I think he's admitted that he pretty much sold out during that period. It was during that horrible 80s period.
But I absolutely started just becoming a fan when he did Tin Machine.
See, that's when I started to think he was interesting. And then I discovered... I think I was in college by the time I realized he had done things before Modern Love.
Well, right. Because, the thing was... And a lot of the older people, of course, thought that Tin Machine was just terrible and, horrible for him. But before that, he was, like I said, he was a joke. Mm-hmm. But he was also a huge pop star.
Yeah.
He was up there with all of the other 80s pop, Michael Jackson and Madonna and everything. And to just turn around and do Tin Machine... to piss on all of that and throw it away.
Well, yeah.
That act alone is pretty damn worthy of respect.
And I wonder if that was another character before then. All of the pop stuff.
I don't know, but I do love the story about how it started with, it was like the Glass Spider tour and just this overindulgence, and it was Reeves, Gabriel, who met him backstage and just was like, stop.
Well, yeah, because Reeves Gabrel's wife was his tour manager.
Yeah.
And so that was the in, and he's just like, what are you doing?
Just stop doing this. And that was it. Like, okay, what should I do instead?
And then Tin Machine happened, and Reeves played on a couple albums after that. And when Reeves is playing with you can't help but be interesting.
Yeah.
Because the man's whole MO is getting guitars to sound like things that aren't guitars.
But then, like, that liberated him to do all of those other great albums after Tin Machine.
Mm-hmm. And I, up until he passed away, there were like maybe 10 or 12 songs of his that I knew and liked. And since then, of course, I've done a whole deep dive into his catalog. He got really interesting in the last decade or so.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, the stuff before the time we were introduced to him,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the stuff after is amazing. And just
Mm,
you know what's amazing about it? And there are people that were Lemmy fans that were upset that he was getting so much more love than Lemmy was.
mm.
But the thing is, he crossed genres.
Yeah. Well, I think Lemmy deserved more, but Bowie certainly deserved what he got in
I
terms
mean,
of love.
Bowie did get more than Lemmy, and it's because I mean Lemmy did what he was good at and stuck with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas Bowie, if you like listen to some of the early stuff, I mean, there's one album where he's pretty much doing, like a lot of Sabbath metal,
Hmm.
Man Who Sold the World, that album.
Right.
And then there's Hunky Dory where he's pretty much doing like Elton John and Lou Reed. And
Yeah.
these are all like in the same era, and it's
Hmm.
just him like not doing it for commercial
No.
purposes, but just like what interested him.
Yeah. And also got to point out, I was reading an article on the guitar players of Bowie.
Oh, that's impressive list too.
Well, but the
Like
thing that,
even
yeah,
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, Adrian Belew, Knit Reeves, Gabrel, of course, Mick
Paige
Taylor.
Hamilton.
Yeah. Not Mick Taylor. Who was his first guitar player? I can't remember his name.
Oh, I forget to.
Yeah.
But I was thinking Paige Hamilton on the
Mhm.
Hours.
Mm-hmm. But the thing that caught my attention is Bowie was in the list. He played
Oh,
almost all of the guitar parts on Diamond Dogs.
really? And that is such a weird ass fantastic album too.
Aside from the solo on Rock and Roll With Me and some of the guitar work on the song 1984, everything else is Bowie.
Where he's mixing like punk and funk
Mm-hmm.
and doing it for like in a Broadway musical
Yeah.
style. That's insane shit.
That classic Rebel Rebel riff that is
Yeah.
like synonymous with Bowie.
Yeah.
Bowie fucking played that.
Damn.
He was actually quite an accomplished guitar player. But of course, got to get into the last one, Black Star, his swan song, and it was definitely deliberately his swan song.
I've only heard it through once.
I've
'Cause
only heard about half of it.
I haven't had the same access to Spotify, but
Mhm.
yeah, I was enthralled from beginning to end. Even more so, I was a fan of the last one he did,
Mhm.
the next day, but
Yeah.
this one, wow, some hazy cosmic jive.
Now, and I mentioned, this movie was a lot like Bowie's music for me, really artistic and a little disturbing. Bowie's work as a whole, I kind of feel like similar to how I felt about Black Rainbow. I don't know if I like it, but I respect the hell out of it. Because he was an artist to the last. And particularly disturbing the song Black Star. I've heard it maybe twice and it still gets stuck in my head somehow. And it's not a song that would get stuck in your head.
No, I mean, that album is all just very atmospheric.
Yeah.
And just very weird. And it does not give a fuck.
No. And Lazarus is creepy as hell.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because he definitely knew this was it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know if we said this on the air, but I mean, he knew he was.
Yeah, well, he'd known for quite some time. He'd known for about a year and a half. He was undergoing chemo for a year and a half. I don't know when he was diagnosed.
I believe it was a stroke. I believe he'd had a number of years ago, so he knew his time.
Well, he died of cancer, which he'd been fighting for a year and a half.
Yeah.
The stroke was another factor as well.
Right.
But yeah, so you had mentioned that the previous album he thought was going to be his last.
Well, right. In fact, nobody knew it was even being recorded. That was one of the cool things with the Foo Fighters show, the one where they did the episode in New York.
Mm-hmm.
There's like this, studio just in Brooklyn that you have no idea it's a studio, and Bowie was kind of using it as his place to go, and just he that's where he was making albums, and nobody knew it.
Mm. But it just kind of amazes me that there's the song Black Star. It's a mix between techno and a dirge.
Yes.
That goes into this blues thing and that kind of soul thing, and the whole. I've tried to dissect those lyrics, which in any Bowie song is a bad idea. Because, well, do you know how he wrote
No.
the thing with the combining sentences? He had a program that he would feed news articles and journals and all of any source of text into. It was designed for him to do this. There's a method of writing where you cut up pieces of paper that have text on them and match sentences together to write. This is how Bowie wrote lyrics. And eventually he had a program designed to do this for him, more automatically. So it just pulled a lot in sentences or words from all of these bits of text that were input, and he would arrange them into what he wanted the lyrics to say. It's really fascinating, and it explains a lot about how obtuse his lyrics get at times.
He really wasn't from this planet, was he?
No. We did just discover another ninth planet.
Someone did the meme with the Men in Black,
Yeah.
Bowie isn't dead, he just went home.
Yeah.
And damn it, I mean, that's what I think happened. I mean, what else? What else could explain it?
Yeah. All right, so on to sequels and remakes.
On to sequels and remakes.
Now, this was based on a novel from '63, as you said. It was later remade as a successful 1987 television adaptation, which I'm really curious to see, because I would love to see how this works on TV.
I can't imagine it. Well, the novel did not have all the sex scenes in it.
Mm-hmm.
The novel was early 60s,
Okay.
clean cut, straightforward from what I understand.
All right. So that was put in to be 70s European artsy, I guess.
That's this director.
Yeah, Nicholas Rojas, I think, or something.
Yeah,
like
I think that was just his way. That was just his thing.
Now, of course, we briefly talked about a remake. You mentioned Shane.
I'd love to see Shane, but the problem is, who the fuck would play Bowie?
Well, yeah. Just a quick aside. I also think his son, Duncan Jones, could do an interesting job with it.
True,
based
but
on
it'd
Moon.
be a bit on
the nose. You're right. Yeah, true.
No, I think I like the idea of Shane doing it on no budget, just like this. This probably had a budget because it had Buck Henry and it had, so many other people in it.
Yeah.
Even the girlfriend, had done like American Graffiti before this, so she wasn't an unknown Candy Clark.
Right. I can think of an actor, but not a young actor. And if you want to go young with Jerome, I got nothing offhand. But if we go a little older, I could see Defoe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I hadn't thought of him. But he has to be a young dude.
Yeah. So I don't know who could play him young. Again, we run into this. We can never think of good young male actors.
Yeah.
I mean, the only ones coming to mind, any decent male actors about the right age, it's Boyega and Oscar Isaacs, neither of them whom I could see in this role.
Oh, there is Casey Chapman.
He looks right for the role, come to think of it. And I'm not even joking. I know you're kind of half serious when you say that, but he does fit the role rather well.
Honestly, it's no joke. I think he would nail this.
He would, definitely.
Let's get this together. Shane Carruth, Casey Chapman.
And if it's a remake of a Bowie movie, that actually could be the first thing that Shane did that got anywhere near a wide release. Or even a limited release.
People would probably want to hang him for it, though.
Well, if he did well.
But, of course, a lot of people have not actually seen this movie.
That's true. Although that's why you get Duncan Jones to play on that. I mean, it's on the nose, but it does get press. All right, on to Brains.
On to Brains.
I really enjoyed it. It's got its flaws. I don't know. It's not a 5. I've been back and forth between a 4 and a 4.5. In honor of Bowie, I'll go 4.5.
I can't give this a 5 either, of course, because it's just I need to watch this again to know whether I actually like this or not. I mean, but I definitely recommend it, of course. I mean, it's just for weirdness alone.
Yeah.
It's worth the 2.5 hour ride or near 2.5 hour ride. I'm going 4.
All right, and what have we learned?
We've learned ashes to ashes, funk to funky. We know that Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heaven's high, hitting an all-time low.
And I learned that Rip Torn is more wrinkled than her father.
All those scenes, all I kept thinking of was like him yelling at Tom Green.
Yes.
Just Magic Tom Green playing the meats and the sausages.
Yes, at the keyboard, yeah. Daddy, would you like some sausage? Yes.
Would you like some sausage?
Yeah.
Oh, but damn it. What are we going to do without Bowie?
It really, I mean, like I said, I wasn't a huge fan, but it was just kind of surreal when he died. It was like, this isn't supposed to happen.
I mean, I honestly, I'm still like covering his catalog. I mean, I've been on this kick for probably a good decade or so, going back to his old stuff and just, I mean, there's just so much to listen to still.
Yeah. All right, so until next time, we'll be reviewing Galaxy Quest. This is our Alan Rickman tribute. This is one that I saw many years ago and didn't like, but I don't really know that I got it. I didn't quite understand that it was a Star Trek parody.
Yeah, I think you were a Star Trek fan when you saw this.
I was kind of, I've never really been a Star Trek fan, but, I know enough about it now to get the parody, I think. Hopefully. Until then, go to zombietakeout.com, check out the album art, the episode description, of course, the episode itself, which you're already listening to, links to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube, links to subscribe via RSS and iTunes. Please leave us a rating and a review at iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. Also, if you enjoy the show, spread the word. Give us a little word of mouth. Of course, we appreciate all of the listeners we have, but more would be better. You'll also find the movie list, every movie we've reviewed so far, and every movie we're going to review. The request form, if you've got a movie you'd like to hear us review, please leave it on the request form. And, of course, the recommendations list. I knew about a half hour in that this was probably going to make it. Just because it was so weird.
Yeah. I mean, I was holding out for the ending still to make final judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ending was like nothing like what I was expecting anyway.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Of course, you can email us, zombietakeout@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail at 414-368-ZTL1, or for the alphanumerically challenged, 414-368-9861. Of course, always remember that you will always be calling from the middle of Milwaukee, and until next time, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.
I can't explain it to you completely. But if I stay here, I shall die.
And I learned that Rip Torn is more... I can clear my voice for that.